And welcome to an extra special international episode of the In 90 Minutes podcast. As every Monday, we are all here, the crew. Uh, David, how are you, sir? I can't hear David, but Misael, how are
No,
you?
it's okay.
There
I
you
just I'm fighting to get to my mouse. I'm doing good. Thank you.
go. Good. Misael?
Good as well. Good as well.
Yeah, John, how are you doing, man?
Doing well. How about you, Ahmed?
Could be better. Could be better. My team is not doing so well today, and they're playing for their future right now. So, but we'll talk about that later. So, we have a somewhat unique episode for you here tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about the FIFA Club World Cup, and for those of you who have not been following, it's a tournament that started a couple weeks ago. It feels like a couple of weeks ago, but I think it was just last week. Yeah. Anyway, so before we do that, I think we have some housekeeping to do, right? What else are we talking about, gents? Before we jump right into it.
Yeah, on social media today, Felipe Martins came out. I'm sure a lot of people saw it. Um, and basically was saying how he was shocked the league didn't basically didn't say anything about him retiring or anything like that. Um, so I'm sharing that post on our screen now.
Let me add it to the.
Basically goes over how many games he played. You know, he just went and basically said how the main part of it is he said no one calls, no one reaches out, no one asks how are you at MLS. Thank you for everything after 14 seasons of giving a simple after giving my all. A simple thank you would have been the least I deserve for helping grow the sport in this country. To every team I played for, I gave it my all. And he continued to go on and, talking about mental health issues and how mental health is part of the game, especially after you retire. Um, and basically, he ended the series of posts by saying, but when it's done. Nobody cares. Everyone just turns their backs and finds the next player, which unfortunately, as we all know, he's right, but it's also part of being a professional athlete, and it is unfortunate for somebody like him to see him going through that. Something that I'm sure all four of us have kids, have children, so you know. And if I'm wrong, one of you guys speak up. But I'm sure all of us have went through our mental health struggles through the years and everything, and it's something that's important that everybody struggles with basically no matter what. And I never played even remotely to the level of him, but when it came time for me to basically hang up the golf clubs, when it became clear I wasn't going to make it uh, doing anything in golf, whether that was playing or teaching or working as a club professional, running the golf club, that fear was there and there for a little bit, that and made some bad decisions during that time, that it's like, what do I do now? Because for me and for Felipe and for anybody else, and I'm not trying to equate my level of playing to them, I'm just my personal um experience with it is, when you stop playing sports, because I played sports from the time I was 4 or 5 years old until I was, basically 30. Obviously not at the level Felipe played, but I was still trying, and that was always there, and that's for a long time. That was basically my identity. As I was growing up, I played basketball, baseball, soccer, played 1 year of American football. Once that was done, started playing golf. Fell in love with golf. Played golf pretty um, consistently for 10 years, extremely consistently for 10 years, trying to make it playing, teaching, or being a coach, or working at a golf club. And when that didn't pan out, I started working at UPS, and it was like, what's the point, kind of deal? Because my goal of waking up every morning was what I was doing for a living, because I wanted to do that. And having to relearn that and everything, was a big deal. And it's something that I know, all athletes struggle with, whether it's leaving high school or college, or, in Felipe's case, the professional level. So, the point of it is whether they're a professional athlete or not, reach out to your friends, male or female, see how they're doing. And when you ask them, how are you? And they go, oh, I'm okay. Be like, no, how are you? And really take that, seriously, that that they mean, that you mean, how are you doing? Not just, a greeting.
I
So,
think uh, I
anything to
think when it sorry, I think when it comes to the part of him talking about the MLS, I think there's just a sad reality is they only any professional league only acknowledges like the superstars, when they retire. At the end of the day, he was a role player. Not making fun of him or knocking him. It's just that's just the reality. He was a role player his whole career, and they're not going to acknowledge that. I mean, they would literally probably be acknowledging all kinds of players in every sport, all day every day that retire. Um, Not saying that that's an excuse either that maybe they shouldn't or they should, but you know how it is. I mean,
But
they're just going to announce the superstars. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, no, I know where you're going. I just feel like for him, it was more about the contact with the team. I don't
Mhm.
think he's
Yeah,
looking for them to acknowledge him publicly. I feel like, like you hear of like a Dennis Chin. Dennis Chin has contacts with the team, obviously because of his work, but they're
yeah.
people that you work with because it's such a close knit community. I feel like his issue isn't that they're not like thanking him out publicly, but there's not that contact between him and the team. You know what I mean? I don't
Uh,
think
Yeah.
he's looking for any like thanks, Felipe.
no, absolutely. I met Felipe last year. Incredible person. Very, very. As an opponent, I was always, I hated him as part of our team. I actually love the fact that he was part of Orlando City. Um, we had players that the career ends, and they have to go and move on to the next step. And Tommy Redding comes to mind. Tommy Redding right now has a 9 to 5 in IT after playing professionally. We've had in this show we had the great and legendary Luke Bowden, who just graduated with his associate's degree. So I'm sorry, his bachelor's degree
Yeah.
in teaching. And you know what I'm saying? He's gonna be hopefully a school teacher, I guess. Aside from the fact that he's been working as a in college coaching. And we have seen how successful Dennis Chen has been in player representation.
Hmm.
Shout out to Dennis, who has been a friend of this show, and always, every time he sees me, he says hello, and I appreciate that. That the old school guys, like Watson and Dwyer, all those guys, they still remember the old guard, so I appreciate that. But the fact is that like Tesha Kindela said in an interview, not recently, but maybe like a year and a half ago, where they asked him if he was ever going to miss football, and he said, "Well, working at 9 to 5, you're not gonna hear 25,000 people screaming your name, And Tesha has been very successful at what he's done. Um, and I was sharing with the guys. There's a player for Stevenage that his name is Luther James Wilding, Antigua and Barbuda International as well, and he's a guy that is working on life after football. He's investing and trying to get other players to get into his business model. And he had a video where he was saying, "Hey, there's this very famous club in London where players come and drop 10,000 pounds on champagne bottles, but if I approach them to invest in real estate for 25,000, they're like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. That's too risky. They're willing to drop 10,000 in one night, but they're not willing to invest 25,000." And then he says, "Then football is over, and now what? Now what's going to happen now? The checks stop coming, people stop calling, your social media dies off because you're not playing. You got to remember, you're an entertainer. And sad but true is, what have you done for me lately?" So a football career is what, 10, 15 years if you're lucky. Not everybody can be Messi, not everybody can be Ronaldo, not everybody can be Zlatan playing until like you're 40 something years old. Not everybody can be that. And so my heart goes out to him because it seems like he was expecting the phone to ring with opportunities. Last I have seen, he had gone back to Brazil. He was working in real estate, but perhaps his intentions were to stay in the States or do other things. Orlando City, in our club's defense, has given opportunities to a lot of former players, either in the academy or in broadcasting. I don't want to name names because I know I'm gonna leave somebody out, and also I just don't want to like throw their names out. Like, oh look, the club did this for you, and this guy they didn't. But again, my heart goes out to him. I hope he finds his place. And I finish with this. When I got out of the service, and this is what a lot of veterans go through. When I got out of the service, when I was in the Navy, I was somebody. I had my rank, I had my place, my command. People shook my hand, thanked me for my service, all that. And overnight, I woke up one morning, went to the flight deck, jumped on an aircraft, and I got launched on the catapult. And next thing you know, I'm in Bahrain with a bunch of guys flying back to the States. 27 hours later, I was in Norfolk, Virginia. And 7 days after that, I was in my living room back in Puerto Rico. And I remember my dad bringing the newspaper, and I opened it, and there was a picture on page two of one of the guys from my division pushing some bombs. And I am a unemployed high school graduate with a DD 214 with discharge papers. That's all I am. I don't have a job. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And of course, I moved to Orlando, went to school. You guys that know me for years know my story. But the thing is that when you are at the pinnacle of something bigger than yourself, it's very tough to go back to being just another Joe in the train. So I think that's what he's experiencing. Hopefully, somebody is gonna reach out to him, talk to him, and I wish him the best. And I hope that he can find his place. He's an extremely talented individual. He speaks three languages. He has a lot of contacts, and not for nothing, he's beloved by the fan bases where he played, and something will come through for him. I'm pretty sure he just got to find the one thing that he wants to do and pursue it. But this is a warning for that I feel that our academy players need to understand. When football ends, what is your plan B?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, you know what I'm saying? Like, we love to, in this podcast, we're giving a lot of attention to our academy kids. We're following them, we're showing their, showcasing their highlight reels and all that. But what if, your end game is college or perhaps USL? It's not necessarily the first team or playing in a big league somewhere else, like some of our guys have managed to do. But for every success story, there's one that is not so successful. So we have to understand that that football is cruel and unpredictable. We always saying, and a lot of these guys, they get a lot of joy of playing the beautiful game and getting paid for it. But the reality is that at the end of the day, they're gonna become like us, like one of us in the stands. And that's why I don't. And Dennis, you forgive me for throwing it out there, but Dennis Chen goes to games. Like, he just pays for his ticket and sits there. I actually sat with him in the southern section. Section 3. I was like, Dennis, what the hell are you doing here? You should be up there, in the suites with the plan. I just didn't have anything to do. Paid for my ticket. I came to the game. I was like shocked, and he knows it's true because I saw him. I shouted, "Oh, Dennis, what's going on?" Man, listen, it's what it is. You know, it's what it is. Unfortunately, and
If
I'll shout
Felipe
out
ever feels
to
so inspired, he always has a home in Orlando and a home on the show if he wants to join us. I commented on his first post, you know,
thank you, John.
how, we loved him. We hated him when he was against us and loved that he played for us. And, my one of my favorite moments from the 23 season was that League's Cup match against Miami when he came on. And, I mean, this is a guy, and this isn't to knock him at all, but I'm being honest, he was an MLS lifer, never played in one of the big five leagues over in Europe, was, you know, essentially as far as professional football players, soccer players go, essentially just another one. And there's a picture of it's the back of his head, and you can tell he said something to Messi to get under Messi's skin, and then you saw like two or three other Inter Miami players come and surround just him. The dude had been on the field for like not even 5 minutes, and he had already ruffled feathers on the field, and that's what the dude did. That's why
You're
he was
being generous, bro. It's like 2 minutes, man.
yeah. Yeah, that's why the dude was so beloved by the teams he played for and hated by the teams that he didn't. So it is sad to see that there isn't something in place like a lot of the other leagues in the United States for their retired athletes. I know the NFL has something to help the athletes going into retirement. MLB does, NBA does. I'm not sure if the NHL does, but if the MLS is going to move forward as a league, it's definitely something that they need to look into having is some sort of program for that transition period. And it's only something that maybe has to last a couple of years, and some mentorship from former players to help these guys out. Because somebody like Felipe, yeah, he made a decent amount of money in the time he played in the MLS, but it's not generational money like some players make. He made a good made a solid living playing soccer, and now he has to find something else to do, and as he shows in that and as we've been talking it.
The door is open. We love you, Felipe.
Yep.
I was gonna bring that up. What you just said to piggyback off you, John. That I remember when Orlando City first came into the MLS. There was a couple guys I remember hearing stories that they had to basically roommates in apartments because they were not getting paid
Hmm.
a lot of money. So
Oh, in the
I
USL,
don't
right?
know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much money he made in his career, but I don't know if maybe in the earlier not earlier MLS because obviously MLS was already around, but in 10 years ago, players were not getting paid what they're getting paid now. Obviously, this league has grown since we've came in, you know, a big amount.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe just back then he wasn't making so much, and maybe he couldn't invest. Maybe he didn't just have it. I don't know. Like I know back then, 10 years ago was pretty rough for some of these players
I
if
mean, they
you were
were
in a
flying
small.
commercial in 2018. I remember one of my friends was coming back from Philadelphia. He's like, "You know who I sat next to?" I'm like, "Who?" Kaká. He was in the middle seat. So it's what I heard the stories from the USL era where in 2011 and 12 the guys had to wash their uniforms at home, and they had to bathe at home. Like they would go to practice, sweat it out, they go home to shower, wash their own uniforms. It was in fact, if you look at those images, those pictures of 2011, 2012, you start seeing who can do laundry and who can't. 'Cause some of the uniforms are like, you know what I'm saying? Like separate your colors from your whites, people. I'm not gonna throw it out there. I just go look at the pictures. I don't want to throw people under the bus. But
I
uh,
can't remember the girl's name in the Pride that she retired because she said she could not afford to live.
yes, that was in
You know that?
2016, and she was a blonde head. I can't remember. She had like
Yeah, she retired because she says that what she was making with the Pride was she had to get a regular job because it wasn't enough. And to me, that was crazy. Like That's insane. That you're in a professional league and you still can't make ends meet. Like, wow. I mean, I get it. Stars get paid more, um, but still, that's. I mean, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah. I mean, think about somebody like Duncan up until last year was making, what was it, $58,000?
I,
Yeah,
I thought that
it's
the
crazy to hear.
sellers went up to like 75 or 80 for the basic.
That's after he signed his contract, though.
Oh, are you kidding me? Well, that
Yeah,
tells you, man. You know that we're years ahead of or behind the world. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the World Cup or the Club World Cup.
Oh, we got the Freeman in the U.S. national team
There
first.
you go. Let's talk about that first.
So yeah, did any of you guys watch any of the matches? You guys want to take this?
I
not
did not
me.
get to watch it.
Okay, so Alex Freeman started all three of the group stage matches for the United States. Um, Played pretty well, for really, his second, third, and fourth appearance for the club. He also made an appearance back on June 7th against Turkey. I thought played, especially defensively, played reasonably well. Pochettino's using him a lot differently than Poppy uses him. Uh, but Poppy uses him more as a wing back to get down in the attack and really provide the width in the attack. Pochettino was using him kind of as the third center back. For those that really pay attention, when Kyle Smith comes in, basically Kyle Smith's role on our team, staying back, helping with the defense, not letting the counter. I missed the match on Sunday. From what I heard, he actually was able to. They did release him a little bit more, let him go forward. It was kind of a nothing match because the U.S. was advancing anyway. But still, I mean, he's had, according to FootMob, he's had the three matches. He's had ratings of 7.7 against Trinidad and Tobago, 7.1 against Saudi Arabia, and 7.3 versus Haiti. This is a 20-year-old in his first senior season. And I personally think, except for a couple silly mistakes, he's done pretty well. You know,
Well, all I gotta say, unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch the games. I've been working like an animal because, like I always say, my empire has to be funded, and also my season tickets are not free. But I have to say, this. I've seen the highlights, and Alex Freeman is not gonna be here next year. If he manages to stay in Orlando for the postseason, it's gonna be a miracle. I'm desperately trying to get autograph for him to autograph anything because he's gonna be gone. And I'm happy for him. And I'm happy for our academy and our program that we can develop players that not only are representing our country now, but players that are going to be a showcase of what Orlando City can do as a club. That's it. I think that the one thing that is missing in the equation is have players that leave after they give us trophies. And of course, you can say, well, Facundo Torres left us a trophy, but Facundo was not a product. We purchased him. I want to remind everybody that when Alex Freeman leaves, he's leaving net profit. I mean, he cost us nothing to sign him. We develop him, and then we can sell him. And if he's sold again, guess what? We get a percentage of that. So that's an important part of creating revenue through the sale of players. And wherever he goes, he obviously he's gonna take the heart of Orlando with him. And I am so happy for him. The one thing though that I have to criticize is if I could get $1 for every time they bring up his dad when they talk about him, I'll be a billionaire at this point. Let's talk about Alex for who he is.
But that's
A
the marketing side of it, man. Come on, that's the
Yeah,
marketing.
right. Everybody's, oh my God, look, his dad, fantastic, but different sport, different era. It was a long time ago. Alex Freeman has a cannon for a boot. Alex Freeman is skilled. Alex Freeman has the height, has the speed. Alex Freeman is just a complete footballer. Let's talk about that. To be honest with you, okay, so his dad did something a long time ago, but it's he's a fantastic player. I'm just happy that we have him here, and again, super proud that he wears our colors.
Yeah, I think it was Twelman or one of the you know pundits for U.S. soccer that said, "Hey, did anybody know Alex Freeman's like jokingly? Did anybody know Alex Freeman's dad played football for the Green Bay Packers? Played in the NFL?" And it's like, that's all we hear when people try to describe him, and I think he's getting to where he can kind of outgrow that with what he's accomplished so far in the league. If a dude learns a left foot, watch out because he has what 4 goals or 3 goals now. If he had a left foot, he'd have 5 or 6 by now easily. So I mean, yeah, it's exciting.
It is, and it's fun to watch him. It really is fun to watch him. Okay. Any? Oh, while we're talking about academy, congratulations to the U14s, Orlando City Academy, that did win their MLS Next Cup championship. Huge accomplishment there. So, big shout out to them and their coaches. I know they're all super proud.
For
And the
sure, I
young
am.
teams for getting second. Tough way to lose the final, but still something to get second place in a tournament like that.
Yeah, and it really speaks to the talent. Like when we talk about Alex and the likes, the
Typhy.
bios and all of those. It's like um, I don't think I remember in the last few years the academy and the MLS Next Cups getting as much attention as they are now, and I think that's a really good sign of things to come because we're not necessarily ready for it as a group, as a country, you know. But I think that's really how you develop this sport, and I've always said that's really where this sport outside this country is different than inside. It starts from the ground up with those kids. Those are the games that everybody's going to be going to because one day you're going to see them playing for your local team. And that's how you build it up. That's how you get that promotion relegation is by having teams like this that everybody goes to because they're their kids, they're their neighborhood kids, they support them, and so it's nice to see that. I just also know that there's the money side to it, which in the States is a big part to it, right? And I hope it does not too negatively stunt that path, right? Because this is really laying a really good foundation, a really good groundwork for a great future for the sport in the US, I think. I just
It,
hope people don't get too greedy
for
and
sure.
ruin it.
No, and building on that, my friend, about the neighborhood kids, Justin Ellis, Gustavo Caraballo,
Hmm.
and Jackson Platts were named to the 2024-25 Team of the Season for Youth Soccer Central. Obviously, they're sharing those honors with a bunch of other kids from different academies, and that speaks volumes of the quality of our academy. I'm so proud of the guys, and also shout out to our friends from Orlando City Insider who had a Q&A with Clovis Archange and Clovis.
Oh,
I
nice.
swear that I'm gonna get your last name correct one day. This terrific young man who's super talented and who is going to be a star in Orlando City. You heard it from me first. This young man is um, it was a defender for Orlando City during the Generations Cup. He's a Generations Cup champion, actually. My bad. And they did a Q&A with him. So go ahead and go to Orlando City Insider, for that info and learn a little bit about this young man. I had the pleasure to meet him personally at an OCB game because that's what happens at OCB games. You rub elbows with the elite of this club, not necessarily the guys on the pitch. Oscar Pareja was sitting behind us, but I respect the el profe. I left him alone. I wanted to share some insight with him, but I figured, hey, what do I know? Luis Musi was there sitting in the same section with us. The legendary Dennis Chen. But it's what you see every day when you go to OCB games. It's the value of going there, and aside from great football, you get to you don't know who you're gonna sit with. And to me, that's the thrill of going to Osceola County Stadium on game day. Guys, anything else? I think
Speaking of Orlando City B, just to do this before we move on to the next one. Move on to the Club World Cup. Orlando City B does have a match tomorrow at Osceola Heritage Park, so a home match against Toronto FC2 at 7 p.m. And then obviously the senior team plays at what's it,
St.
whatever,
Louis.
and in St.
When
Louis.
Yes, it will be 8:30 kickoff our time because it's Central Time. 7:30 over there, 8:30 over here. It's gonna be our first time visiting St. Louis. To the fans going over there, travel mercies, and I hope that you have a good time and you get to take 3 points away. St. Louis is having a rough time, and once again, we are Charity FC has sailed. We're going there like the Vikings to pillage, to do nasty stuff, and burn the place down. That's exactly what we're going to do.
And before we move on to the FIFA Club World Cup, just as a reminder, to follow us on our social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Blue Sky at In 90 Minutes Podcast. Watch us live every Monday on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram. We're still working on TikTok and Twitch. And the YouTube is as well as In 90 Minutes Podcast.
Yeah, thank
We're live
thank you to
every
everybody that's watching right now. We have a lot of people watching.
yeah. We have we're live
Oh, we
every
got
Monday night
63
at
people
9
live.
p.m.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Yes, we're live at 9 p.m. every Monday to cover Orlando City and the previous match or matches and the upcoming match or matches for that week. All right, now what
Also,
Ahmed is
really,
preoccupied with watching.
Yeah, man, it's sad right now.
I
Anyway,
mean,
so yeah, so this week we're planning to dive into the Club World Cup. If it's your first time watching it, I hope you're enjoying it. I don't know if those of you who saw the picture we used for this episode, uh, but here's the thing: not everybody in the states seems to be showing up because ticket prices, which you probably heard me speak about, were extremely steep at one point and still continue to be. There's some weird match times, and it just leaves people asking, like, a lot of people are like, "What even is this tournament?" I've spoken to a lot of people who are like, what is this? So that's what we're talking about here. For me, I've always been a fan of this tournament just because it's based on the clubs, right? Like if you look at the club, like the World Cup is amazing. World Cup comes on, you know where you're gonna find me watching the matches. The thing is, the World Cup is like the All Star teams, right? It's like the best players cherry picked for each country. It's not the clubs, it's not the players you like, it's not the players, it's the players that the country picked. So that's really where this comes to shine. And uh, I have my own issues right now with my team, but it gives you opportunities to see these teams that are from outside the country, how they play, the things they have to show. And it's really nice. And if you ever get to see it in person, it's amazing. I highly encourage you to check it out if you can afford to see to buy tickets. But for today's match, I posted that picture of two Chelsea supporters in basically an empty stand during the Chelsea World Cup match against LAFC in Atlanta. Um, it's crazy. It's crazy. We had a couple of
What
matches
was the logic of putting LAFC in the East Coast?
because people were gonna fly from California to Georgia to see LAFC play. No, I'm just kidding. That's what they were hoping for. You know, listen, I was amazed to see as many athlete fans as I saw in Miami. Let alone today, if you look at the game that they're playing against Porto right now, it's crazy. But we're special. We're special people. We will fly all over the place to
Well,
watch that team.
if I can be devil's advocate, and
Yeah,
this
please.
this Amir and I talked about this before. First of all, your team is a African powerhouse. Let's just call it for what it is, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And it moves the masses, and also you have a huge Egyptian population in the United States. I
Hmm.
lived in Brooklyn. You know, all that area of downtown Brooklyn is all Egyptians. And in Orlando, we also have a huge population of Egyptians. And if you have ever driven on I-4 going into Altamont, you can see the Coptic church to your right. That's, you know, those are Egyptian Christians. I mean, if you have a big population to support that,
Hmm.
then that means there's a lot of people. And Coptics are just a minority within the Egyptian population. So there's more people than that. And the fact is that people will go because it's not every day that their team is gonna be here. And
Hmm.
like I told them, man, if one day for some miraculous reason my club Maccabi Haifa makes it, or Stevenage, which is a really long shot, or perhaps our beloved Orlando City, then I will make the effort. There's a YouTuber from Spain that I follow. And I wanna give him a shout out. His name is Rafael Escrig, and he this young man, incredible channel. Obviously, it's in Spanish. He just goes. If you like Ellis Platten from Away Days, another fantastic channel that I recommend. He has showcased Stevenage and Orlando City many times. And the last time he was here, it was in 2022, and I missed them by seconds because had I shown up a little earlier, I would have ran into him, and we tried to get him on the podcast that I was at the time. I talked to him, and unfortunately, it couldn't happen. But the point is that you know he was at the game between the South African team and the South Korean team that was played at Inter and Co, our home stadium here in Orlando. Can't remember the names of the clubs. I know the South African team won 1-0, and
Mamelodi Sundowns.
right. And you know, he couldn't hide the fact that, you know, there was only like under 4,000 people there, but he alluded to the fact like, well, you know, these are not very well-known teams, et cetera, et cetera. But he was very complimentary of the facilities, very complimentary on the pitch, and as a where I find where I get offended is at the fact that a lot of people outside of the United States saw those first games that were poorly attended and said, "See, the Americans don't like the sport. They don't support it, you know," and they use the opportunity to talk trash about something they don't consume and they don't support. And I'm gonna say it's jealousy. It's jealousy. You know why? Because we're the best country in the world with the best looking people, and you know it's what it is. And then, you know, because we're not good in football, then they have to like throw the like they have to stick us in there. What's gonna happen, people of the universe, when the United States is a powerhouse? Then then you're not gonna have anything to poke fun at us. But to me, if you love football, wouldn't you want the United States to be good at it as well? Instead of always and this is also for the content creators in this country. I'm looking at you, Men in Blazers, who instead of like helping build football culture and fanatism for the sport, we gotta bring it down. We gotta break it down. One thing that I would love for people to understand is we're not trying to be like Europe. We're not trying to be like Europeans. We understand our limitations. You know what? Boca and River and Real Madrid and Barcelona and PSG and all these other teams. You know what they don't have to do? They don't have to compete with NFL, MLB, NHL,
Hmm.
okay, NBA. They don't have to do that. A lot of MLS teams have to compete for the hearts and souls and the money of the sports fan to fill their stadiums. And I'll finish with this. In the United States, it's expensive to live here, and I have to tell you that when they showcase on the social media people who are like, "Oh, I stopped paying my mortgage this month. I abandoned my family. I pay for to fly 20 hours to follow my." That's all great. It makes great content, but is that healthy that you are forsaking the well-being of your family, your finances, your job? People getting fired just to come to the games for what? Football is entertainment. Football is not life. I'm gonna tell you what it is life: taking care of my children, having a roof over my head, food in the fridge, and having a career that I worked really, really, really hard for the last 25 years. Where I am professionally has taken a lot, and it funnels my passion for football. But I'm never gonna put Orlando City or the game of football or Steve H or Maccabi Haifa or the United States national team ahead of my family. So if that means that we're poor fans, then so be it. It's not a religion. That's why I go to synagogue every Saturday. I already have a religion. Thank you very much. I don't need another one. So football is just entertainment. And if you disagree with that, too bad, so sad. Perhaps you're a millionaire that can afford this. I had to work. And the other thing is, in this tournament, if you're gonna ask people to show up at noon in the Florida heat for teams that they don't know about, they're not gonna go. I'm sorry. That's the facts. Facts upon facts, guys.
Yeah, it's
It's been a fun tournament, I think. I mean, I'm lucky enough to work from home, so when the matches start, I have the audio in the background listening to it. Yeah, I mean, attendance could be better, but also at the same time, it's being played at, let's see, Dallas, Atlanta, MetLife are all three stadiums that hold what 90 to 100K people. I was watching a bit of content. Somebody was at one of the matches for, and I believe Dortmund was playing, and one of the host asked the person just off the street, what do you think they could have done better? And the guy even said, he said, put it at smaller stadiums, make the times better times. I mean, look at the FIFA World Cup. You don't usually see the FIFA World Cup played so, the U.S. can, see it when it's being played over in,
mhm.
Russia, for instance, or the Olympics or anything like that. And that was, kind of FIFA's reason why they had 12 o'clock starting times and 3 o'clock starting times, was because, well, you can't really, the other countries would need to want, should be seeing it. Well, if it's in, like I think it was the Japan Olympics, China Olympics, I remember staying up till 2, 3 in the morning
Yeah.
to watch the finals of the basketball. And it's, so for them to say that it is weak. And as everybody knows, FIFA is just a money grab anyway. They try to do all they can to increase their pocketbook. And so I mean, having it in smaller stadiums, more soccer specific stadiums would help. You know, not having it in these huge empty caverns that are these indoor stadiums in Dallas and Atlanta. And also having it, I saw Jude Bellingham today saying how poor the surface of the fields are. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's natural grass over top of turf. Of course, it's going to be, the ball's not going to bounce and it's going to be rough on your knees and ankles because it's not real grass with the solid foundation. That turf's been there for, a month at most. The turf meaning the grass. And why not have it at a soccer specific stadiums or the natural grass stadiums that are the football, the American football stadiums that are all over the country. That's really been a disappointing part is seeing stadiums being 3/4 of the way full. Obviously, here in Orlando, we really didn't have any teams that were would have drawn a crowd. Think about when we had Flamengo here a couple years ago in the preseason, how packed that stadium was with Flamengo fans. I bet if we had, I'm trying to think of one that was poorly attended in Atlanta, but I can't think about the locations other than the Miami one because I was looking at that. That's the other big fumble by FIFA is Miami's only had to travel up to Atlanta. Other than that, they've had two games in Miami. Kind of find that coincidental. A team that didn't even deserve to be in the tournament basically gets two home matches, and is the only team with two home matches in this entire tournament. Um, Seattle, I think, had one today basically because they played in their home stadium. But still,
Yeah.
like, you know, we could nitpick and say what's wrong with it, but overall, I think it's been a great tournament. It's been a fun watch after work, after dinner, sitting down and watching the different styles go up against each other. I mean, the Chelsea, who Chelsea played the other day?
Alain, the Saudi team, right?
No, it was a South America team. I thought when they were the comeback.
Well, Elaine is from the
Oh,
UAE.
sorry.
Uh,
I was
they
sorry.
played.
I was thinking a different match.
It was a comeback. Was it Boca they played? I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that was a great match. Anybody that watches that match and didn't get excited over that, you must not really like the sport. Flamengo. I'm sorry, they played Flamengo.
Yeah, Flamengo.
Ironically, who I brought up.
Hmm.
And David talking about how we're the best. Guess what? I follow four different clubs. There's only one club I would take a day off work to go see in another country, and that's Orlando City. But we watch. Ahmed, how many teams do you follow?
I don't even. I've lost track, man.
Yeah,
Honestly,
David, how you
I
follow
really
what
have.
30?
Huh?
Yeah, three.
Yeah.
I just follow three teams. And Puerto Rico and the U.S. As far as international.
Club teams. I'm
Oh,
talking about.
club teams. Yeah, just
Oh,
just three. I could follow more, but the reality is there's only 24 hours on the clock. My wife already hates the fact that Saturday mornings I'm watching Stevenage, then at night I leave her to go Orlando City, and then in the middle of the night Maccabi Haifa. I mean, the woman is like, hey, at what point are you gonna spend time with us?
Yeah, I must say, do you follow anybody else other than Orlando?
Yeah, Real Madrid.
Okay.
Pretty much. That's about it.
So yeah, I mean, we follow because guess what? I wake up on a Saturday morning from what mid August to late May, and that's 10 months. 8 of those 10 months, I am watching soccer basically all day because I'll watch the matches in the morning, matches in the afternoon, and then either be at the Orlando City match or be watching the Orlando City match um, on TV if they're playing away. And then there's matches on legitimately from 7:30, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. every Saturday from August, for 8 months of the 10 months between August and May. So, you guys may have the history of your sport, but we watch more by far.
Oh my gosh.
So let's see what we got going on right now, Matt. How are you guys doing?
Well, right now, so the group Miami's in first, and they're playing Palmeiras. So Miami's up 1-0. In our game against Porto, we're actually up 2-1. So we're technically in third place. So we would need to score two more goals in order to move forward, which is not impossible. It's not impossible, but
Because you guys have to win by two, right?
right now we have to win by two, assuming nothing. No, well, we have to score two more. Now
Or
we
I'm
have to win by
sorry,
three.
win by three. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Ooh,
yeah, but we already scored two,
hmm
so
And
it's
if
not.
you win, you leave out Pesci and Company, right?
You
Well,
know,
they're locked in basically. I don't, yeah,
Are
there's
you
really no way.
serious?
well, no, not really, because if
Not really.
Palmeiras wins, if Palmeiras ties it up or goes ahead, and we do what we're saying, in theory they could be knocked out. But it really. I don't want to turn this into a Miami thing, but watching the games, I've seen some amazing, amazing, amazing goals. Yesterday, the Man City game, some of those goals they scored, amazing goals. I have heard zero about them. Freaking Messi scores a free kick that a 12-year-old could do that he does all the time, but he does it. And the Zone app has a thing about how everybody that announced it. Who gives up? You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
it's like to your point, it's that whole Messi effect. It's when I saw that game, nobody was cheering for Miami. The only chant you heard was for Messi, which to me is sad. FIFA doesn't care because they're filling the seats, right? And Miami doesn't really care either because they're selling tickets. But who are you as a club if everybody that shows up is there for him, right? And we've said it. Talk to me in next year when he's gone or whenever it is that he's gone, and talk to me about your club then. There was absolutely nobody chanting for anybody other than the one person.
my brother, we already seen the damage, Ahmed. We already seen the damage in their
It's
academy.
frustrating. It's frustrating because we love the sport, and you go there and you see. I mean, that was the first time I had seen that in person, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like,
Look at Miami too, and look at their academy. Those kids, they know they're not gonna make the first team.
"Yeah." It's
Well,
like,
why? Where's the effort? Where's the dynamic of like, oh, I gotta do
yeah,
good so I can get called to the first team? No, you're not, because
yeah.
the first team is a bunch of old people collecting huge checks because they sell jerseys. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Luis Suarez and Busquets and Alba, no, they're great players, but they're they're just background noise for Messi.
Hmm.
And the problem with the focus that the league has on this one individual is that he's a shadow of who he used to be. Number one. Number two, no one who respects this sport knows or acknowledges that he's playing at his best against great competition, because the league has created a mantra around the club where you see the refs giving them calls that they shouldn't be given to them. You have seen them
Hey,
winning games.
David, real quick before you go on,
Go ahead, brother.
you find it very interesting how many free kicks, how many fouls are called for Miami to
Hmm.
where they have a free kick
Oh,
right around the top of the D.
but you know what,
Yes,
John?
sir.
Watching these matches, and I don't think you can appreciate it until you watch it in person. And when we talk about like different styles of play, when we had that opening match, what I was there is a totally different style and play. And you get fouled, you're not stopping there to try to get the foul. You get up and you keep playing. If the guy blows the whistle, he blows the whistle. Whereas here, you get touched, and all of a sudden you're rolling on the ground for 30 seconds. And that's you really can't appreciate it until you see it, because that's what I witnessed on that first game, and I was like, we look like we meaning MLS compared to how we were playing against my team looked like a bunch of fools, right? Like to me, what they were doing was drama at its finest. It's like that's not
But,
what the sport is. It's like get up and play.
but wouldn't that be some of there's the MLS has a big South American style of the sport to it, and that's
Yeah, but
be
this was
honest,
like over
without
the
being
top.
mean,
It was
let's be honest. That's a big thing in South America is
Yeah, I guess. I get what you're
the
saying. It just seemed over the top,
martial
and
arts
maybe it was
anymore.
because of contrast of the styles.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
that's
Ric
what it
Flair
was.
rules, bro. Ric Flair rules, like cheat steal
It
in
was just
South
like,
America.
oh my god, are you kidding me right now?
but no,
I
just
don't, I don't,
the
I
amount of,
don't.
the amount of fouls that they get right there on top of the D, so Messi can hopefully make one of
Oh
his
yeah,
highlight free kicks is
like literally, that's what it is. It's
insane.
like that's the joke. Anyway, yeah. So it's halftime now, so we'll see what happens in the next 45.
What were you
But
gonna say, Miss Ann?
I was just gonna say that I agree with you guys, and I don't agree with them concentrating on just him. But I do also try to look at it at the other side as the league itself, and that you have the chance to get Messi into the MLS. I mean, you do
yeah,
it. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, he is our enemy right now, against Orlando City, but the totality is at the end of the day, it is a business, and I mean, he brought in a lot of eyes. Where are they going to leave when he leaves? Probably. Maybe some will stay, and I guess that's the chance they're willing to take. Um, but I try to look at it like that as well, where it is a business, and I mean, if you have you can pull the trigger to get him in here, you do it.
Mhm.
I mean, if they had the chance to get Ronaldo in here before he retires, I'm sure they're going to try it. It'll probably be the same circus as well.
Yeah, Ronaldo to Orlando City. Let's make it happen.
No, please no, please no.
You don't
No
want.
offense, I love Ronaldo.
Just for the rivalry, that'll be kind of awesome.
Yeah,
Listen, I got my spare room. He can stay with me.
he's going to buy one of the mansions in Lake Nona or Isleworth that, with his pocket change. No, I love Ronaldo. Like I'm a Ronaldo fan. I think even before Messi was with Inter Miami, Messi was overrated for what he's done, and feel like he's been fed with a silver spoon most of his career because he came up playing for Barcelona, and I could that's a whole tangent I could go on for another 2 hours for. But
Mhm.
you know, if Ronaldo were to come here, I could go against everything that Poppy and the front office has built with our club, with having a younger team, with a good mix of the veterans. Um, because my fear is think how Poppy wants everybody to buy in. And the front office wants all the players to
Mhm.
buy into what they're trying to do. If you got a big player like Ronaldo, would he really buy in? And this isn't questioning his competitiveness. This is questioning, is this just a glorified, a glorified vacation for him for a couple of years to where he can still make a little bit of money, especially compared to what he's making now in the Saudi league, and still be able to play the game?
I just don't think those type of players at this point of their careers where they have done everything are coachable. How do you go from the biggest names in the sport to, no offense to Oscar, Oscar, we love you, but to Oscar Pareja, shut up, Oscar. What do you know? I won the champions how this many times, and also for the players, the younger players to try to uh, work in that dynamic in Miami, when Messi arrived, there was a lot of players that were just your run of the mill MLS guys, and that didn't work out. Messi purged that team from its manager, from the players. The front office. I mean, he has done a lot to make the place to his liking. He like redecorated the place. But again, like we said, when he leaves, does he leave Inter Miami in a strong place so somebody else can just move in, plug and play, or do they are gonna have to go through the pain of rebuilding after everything has been tailored towards this one player? And again, the league has sacrificed a lot of focus on other teams. Like, for example, we complain Orlando City doesn't get any love, but there's teams in this league like St. Louis and Vancouver and as Real Salt Lake that don't get any space on the social media of the league.
Yeah,
Vancouver should be getting a lot of love from
but
what they're
listen,
doing.
why even take it that far? It's like, to begin with, Inter Miami shouldn't have even been in this tournament,
I
Yeah,
agree. I
right?
agree.
I don't
Like,
want to sound. I don't want to sound like. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, sorry.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just going to piggyback what John was saying about the Ronaldo thing. Is if I'm correct, Messi and Busquets came at the same time, right? And then Alba and Suarez came after.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep sounding like I'm defending the guy, but at the end of the day, those are his friends, and you don't think that maybe he calls them up like Alba and Suarez and say, "Hey, these guys are handing out boatloads of money. You can come over here easily." You know what I'm
Manager
saying?
right
Like,
now is of
and
is
make this kind of money before we like actually call it quits. Like it's like I said, I'm not trying to defend the guy, but at the end of the day, I mean,
Oh yeah,
No,
those players,
my
absolutely.
they
dude.
you
I
know,
would
you
do. I
have
would have
to,
done the same thing. I would have
Messi's
done the
done.
same thing.
yeah,
You're going to jump at it because the dude's basically the GM and president of the president of football operations there, and he pulls the strings on who they sign, what coaches are there, and everything. And And it's sad, like to a point, like you guys were saying, was where are they when these guys leave? Because once Messi's gone, the other three are leaving.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
you look at a player like Kramashi, who was a rising star before they came here, and if anything, he's regressed since they came in because he doesn't get minutes anymore.
Hmm.
And
I agree.
What's the other guy in there?
Uh,
Redondo. Didn't Man City want that guy?
I believe so.
what
I think
happened
he.
to the Ecuadorian guy that went to New England? Tall guy, striker.
Oh
God.
yeah, he's still playing good, but he just came back from injury a couple months
Yeah, I mean he
ago.
was fantastic for them, and then the Barca invasion comes in, and he gets 0 minutes, and he gets shipped off.
But
Oh
Talking
man,
about regret.
World Cup tomorrow is the quote unquote big match in Orlando. At 9 p.m., Flamengo's playing LAFC at Camping World
yeah.
Stadium. So that should we know how Flamengo's fans.
Oh, bro, that's gonna be that's it. Come on, it's Brazilians in Orlando. Does white go on rice? That's all I gotta say. You know what
But
I mean?
matches tomorrow are Auckland City FC versus Boca Juniors, Benfica. That's at 3 p.m. Benfica and Bayern at 3, and then 9 p.m. is Esperance, which I probably pronounced wrong, at 9 against Chelsea, and then the LAFC Flamengo match at 9 p.m. as well.
When is Man City
Yeah,
at
that's what I
Camping
was
World?
gonna ask. Yeah, the Man
I
City Juventus.
believe that is Thursday. Yes, that's the other big one. Thursday at 3 p.m. Juventus and Manchester City.
That's gonna be a
Yeah,
packed house.
listen, it's gonna be a packed house,
Yeah,
and for all of us that remember the days at the Citrus Bowl in 2015 and 18, is gonna be a hard one.
I'm gonna
So
try to go to that.
put your PF 75 billion Europeans, because you're gonna get cooked.
Well, it was funny. I don't know if you guys saw it because wasn't Manchester City practicing at Miami's facilities? Weren't they doing their training there?
Oh, were
And
they? I don't know.
um,
Oh, that's against us, man. Weren't they training here not that long ago? Like a year or two ago, remember?
but what's their striker? I can see his face.
Holland.
Holland posted a picture of how sunburnt he got after like 2 days. But yeah, I mean 3 p.m. Or whatever. Yeah, what was it? 3 p.m. Yeah, 3 p.m. in Orlando. On a people thought the match on Saturday was delayed a long time. Just you wait. Didn't we have a match back in, was it 2019, that started at like 5:30 and it didn't end until 10? I want to say maybe it was against Colorado.
It was
Uh,
some crazy time. There was another one that was like that.
yeah,
We ended up hanging out like an hour and a half or 2 hours in the by the wall,
Yeah, you
yeah,
guys
just waiting.
forgot the one in 2016 or 2015 that finished at 2 o'clock in the morning against Chicago.
Chicago. Yep.
Yeah.
And weren't we down the 9 men in that match too?
No, no, no. It
That was
was
the
a
first
regular
one?
game. It ended up 0-0, if I'm not mistaken. It's a game where I bought tickets. I never made it to my seats. I ended up watching the game from home.
Oh my god, no way.
So the funniest thing about rain games is my son's first game we ever brought him to. We were playing New York City. This would have been 2022, later in the year, and we were playing New York City, and there was just an absolute. It's the only time I've seen our pitch actually flood. The right side of the opposite side of the benches, right where the drainage is, flooded right by where your seats are, Ahmed, on that side of the field,
Wow.
flooded. I mean, it
That's
was just
amazing.
absolute downpour. She ran underneath the wall. I'm still sitting out there getting soaked, and we ended up just leaving because the rain wouldn't stop. And we made it home in time to see Tesho. I believe he had it. It was either the tying goal or the go ahead goal at the death.
Right. It was the go ahead, which he managed to do back to back, away
Yeah,
game and home game. Man, Tesho, God bless you wherever you are, man. I know you have a 9 to 5 over there in Charlotte, but you made a lot of people happy here. Going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, But at the end of the listen, at the end of the day, FIFA is already talking about in 2029 having the tournament again here,
Ah,
and the Club World Cup. And to be honest with you, if we can work out having probably uh, uh, in my opinion, how we had this tournament in MLS stadiums, minus the teams that play in NFL stadiums, I believe we would have had a better tournament. We would have had a better tournament. Obviously, some teams are not going to have big draws if they are small teams from countries far off, but I think we would have had a better result. The statics would have been better. And I quote, they interview a guy from River Plate, fan, where they asked, I believe they were in L.A. and the guy tells the person interviewing him, if this was in Florida, we would have had three times this size, because obviously some ethnic groups prefer to immigrate to some places, just like Mexican teams in California and Texas do
mhm.
incredible. Argentinian, Brazilian teams, Egyptian teams, they will do Israeli teams. It will do incredible in Florida. They will do incredible in the East Coast. But that it's is that
Yeah, I mean, it's like the going back to what I was referring to earlier, the Dortmund supporter was like, yeah, attendance doesn't have the opportunity to reach 80, 90, 100,000 fans, but if you have 20, 30,000 people inside a stadium that only holds 20, 30,000 people, it sounds louder. It's a full stadium. It's not a, echo chamber like Atlanta and Dallas have been. Or I'm sorry, not Dallas. They don't play in Dallas this time, but the U.S. men's national team played in Dallas. But like Atlanta Stadium has been. And, you're also at that point then not fooling these fans that don't know. Like it killed me the first match that was in Atlanta. This one dude said, "Oh, this is the greatest football stadium ever." He was British, and if he meant American football stadium, he would have said American football, but no, he meant the sport, football, soccer. Um,
Interesting.
and
I disagree.
well, no, but I had to correct him. I said it's not a football. It's not a football stadium. It's an NFL stadium, an American football stadium. The grass isn't even there all the time. Typically, when they play matches for the league, it's turf. It's artificial grass. It's not a great stadium. Our stadium's great. Nashville's great. Cincinnati's great. St. Louis is great. San Diego's great. Any of the soccer specific stadiums are great. And that's not saying that like Seattle doesn't have a good atmosphere in their football stadium, but there needs to be more soccer specific stadiums in the states to get everything
But
rolling even
yeah,
better.
Amen.
you know what it is though too. They're always gonna go for those bigger venues because they want to sell that. You know what? You know what my son's first words to me were when we walked in. He had never been to Hard Rock Stadium. He's like, I feel like I'm in FIFA, like meaning the game. That's what they're. I mean, if you think
Yeah,
that's what they're selling you. When you watch it on TV, you watch Premier League, you watch all of this. That's what you're seeing. That's what he's seeing. So they're tapping into that, rightfully so, because everything is about
Right.
money,
yeah.
right?
With the
They were
exception
hoping they
of
would take
huge
it.
powerhouses,
Yeah.
most first division teams in Europe sit 30,000, twenty five
Hmm.
thousand people.
Yeah.
You really have to be hard pressed for like the biggest names
Yeah.
to see more than that. But American football, and our friends that are not American, the American football stadiums are as that big simply because they play once a week and the season is 16 games.
Yep.
So you gotta maximize. Like if you're a season ticket holder, you have 8 games that you go to. You miss one, you miss a huge chunk of your home season. That's the reason why they're packed like that. But when you're talking about the beautiful game football, a stadium in the United States with 25,000 seats is more than capable. And in Orlando, we don't sell every game. I mean, we average 18 to 20,000, which for a city our size, a metro area of 3 million people, I think that's fantastic. But again, I think hopefully FIFA has learned from at the end of the day from everything, and perhaps the next tournament is going to be better. The next time it comes to the United States, like now that we know 29 is the goal, perhaps they will learn from that, and it will be a much better tournament. Personally, I think I'm pleased with the result. Could it be better? Absolutely, because it's a tough sell. When you have the World Cup, you have a whole nation. But when you
Mhm.
are talking about club football, you're talking about a segment of that country. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
Yeah.
the fans of that particular team. So that is
You
just a
know what I think also made it tougher? This tournament historically never had a group stage.
Hmm.
And I get it. It's the whole money grab aspect, right? Because now I get to watch my team play for at least 3 matches, right? But I don't think if you're talking about a tournament where people are saying, "What is this tournament?" That's not the right vibe for it. When you have teams that nobody knows and you want people to show, I don't think doing the group stage at this point in America for the first time was the right thing to do. Maybe
Yeah,
for
I mean, you have to
2029.
start it. I agree with what you're saying, but you do have to start it at some point.
Yeah, no,
You
no,
know,
of course. Yeah, I know. I
and
get
I
it. I'm
mean,
just
look
saying
at
I
look
think
at
it
the
kind of
teams that have
backfired.
been at the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I'm just saying I think it kind of backfired. That's
Hmm.
kind of why we see some of the things, like some of the whole conversations about empty stadiums because you're adding a whole other set of 3 matches per team times 32 teams. That's or like 16, whatever the number of games is. That's a lot more games for people to go to. You know, that may or may not want to go see certain teams.
Yeah, but I mean, the to me the biggest positive of it is the American the fan here in America could see what in person what true soccer support is.
Absolutely.
A
Absolutely.
lot of them for the first time in person. I mean, if I could have been at the match, was it yesterday? I think, or yeah, yesterday the Wydad Casablanca versus Juventus match where there was a huge pyro show. That would have been awesome. Or the Boca Juniors match or the River Plate match. And heck, even the what's the Japanese team that's in it. I'm trying to find
Oh
them.
yeah, oh, yeah. The team that played here or that's gonna play here.
No, did they play here? I don't know.
we had a South Korean and a
Oh,
South
that's what it was.
African
Sorry.
team, and then we had the Benfica, the Portuguese powerhouse that
Yeah.
has a huge following in Orlando. A shout out to our friend JJ that I think uh,
The
thought that he
Red
was
Diamonds,
United.
Urawa Red Diamonds is who I'm talking about. Where are they from? So is that
Japan.
South Korea or
Red Diamonds, I
that's
believe.
Japan? Yeah, that's the
That's
Japanese team.
Japan. The
Oh, is that
Corral Red
Yeah,
Dots is
okay.
Japanese.
Yeah, you look at how their supporters were. Their supporters were all into it. Dortmund hasn't really shown out with their supporters. They have one of the best supporter sections in Europe. If I think if they can find a way to, you know, I hate saying take out the smaller teams, but a way to include a couple more of the bigger teams, you know, like maybe a Liverpool,
Make it
in it.
invitation only. Let's just be honest. Make it invitation only, and
Well,
then
I
you get
know
rid of.
and it's just gonna be the same, 16 teams every time. But
You know
like
what we
this,
can do? You know what we can do, bro? Like pick teams that finish top four in their leagues throughout the world, and then make it. In my opinion, make it fair that way because our delegation, only one team earned the place, and that was Seattle.
Hmm.
LAFC got handpicked to go. Yes, they had to play America, which, by the way, one of the giants of North America. So they won. Congratulations, you earned your spot, but you were handpicked to be there to begin with, and then you had Inter Miami with the most incredible bogus thing bogus pick. And a man knows because we talked about this a year and a
I
half ago.
cannot believe that
we
A
that
called
year
number.
and a half ago,
we
we
called it.
I noticed that FIFA was giving Concacaf a empty slot, and a man knows. I told him, I said that's Inter Miami. They're gonna find a way to give it to Inter Miami, and hold and behold, they sure did.
We
But
said it on the show, David.
Was
when
that
we were going. We said it on the show when we were going
Yeah.
through the
right?
the
That's right.
qualifier.
My
And
goodness.
then it was like the last one was like CONCACAF to be announced, and we all went, "Huh? Wonder who that's for."
Right, right, absolutely, guys.
So,
We got
really quick, are we rooting for the MLS teams?
Um,
I never for Miami.
everybody but Miami, yes.
You know,
Honestly,
I wish not. I wish nothing
for
but hurricanes and thunder.
honestly, on my end, everybody except for I'm rooting for teams from America, whether that's South America, the Boca Juniors or
No, from
Yeah,
the continent,
Quad
from the
or
continent.
yeah.
the Brazilian teams, unless they're playing Chelsea or Dortmund, because those are my two teams in Europe that I support that are in this tournament is Chelsea and but even then like watching when I was watching the match the Chelsea match on Friday in the background like you'd hear the announcer get excited and you basically like or the Flamingo sorry Chelsea Flamingo match
Hmm.
you heard the supporters the Flamingo supporters in the background you almost started you know pulling for Flamengo because it was the atmosphere there with their supporters was amazing. And then of course because Chelsea's from England, everybody was, sitting on their hands and it was all prim and proper and everything. So, but the atmospheres have been great, I think it's overall made the sport more of a global sport because you see how the South American teams are performing against European competition. Today LA they didn't win, but they you know played okay against PSG. Uh,
Seattle.
or Seattle did, yeah. Sorry, Seattle did today. And then you look at what like I said, what the Brazilian teams. I don't think has Brazil lost a match yet.
Palmeiras right now in
Is losing.
Miami. Yeah,
Didn't
they're losing, but they're knocking on the door here. But there's a sea of green there.
What about the game, the earlier game, Botafogo? Did they lose?
No, they won.
Oh, they won. Okay.
No, they lost.
Yeah,
They did lose to Atletico
Oh, they
Madrid.
did.
So that was the
yeah,
first.
they won the last game. Yeah,
That was the first loss Brazilian teams had.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's amazing. It's showing. It makes me hurt a lot less losing. Facundo Torres to Palmeiras because I'm like, why would you go to Brazil? That's not that much better than the MLS.
Yeah.
But obviously, I mean, Palmeiras is losing to Miami, who we beat. So technically, we beat Palmeiras. But
Yeah, for sure. But
but it's
guys,
been a lot
we're
of fun.
rounding it up. We're almost done here. I just want to thank the 78 people that have chosen to stick with us. 79 now that decided to stick with us this time. Appreciate that. I want to thank the people that are gonna watch this later on YouTube. The people that are gonna be listening to us on their favorite podcast app. Orlando City takes the hostilities this Wednesday, 8:30, visiting for the first time in our history St. Louis City. Hopefully, 3 points. And this Saturday, Pride Night, Orlando City returns to the to 655 West Church Street in Toronto Stadium after a month away. I can't believe a month away between home games. Be there. I'm gonna be with my friends Holly and Callum, who just got engaged this week. Congratulations to you guys! Straight from Stevenage, England, coming to enjoy the beautiful game. Their third visit to the United States, fourth Orlando City game, and as soon as they booked their holiday, they immediately contacted me and said, "David, we have to have Orlando City tickets to see the boys win." And every time they have come, they have seen wins. So
Good.
All
Saturday,
right.
Because yeah,
hopefully,
it's
is
a
not
huge
gonna
match
be an
Saturday.
exception.
We need that kind of luck.
Wins and tons of goals. So I'm doing the rain dance that Saturday. That's what's gonna happen. I plan to do a little video with them. Somebody needs to go to bed. Sorry. A little video with them talking about their experiences here in the states. So thank you very much. Sorry for that, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening to us. And remember, section 3, the stickers. The stickers. Come and find me in section 3. I'll give you a sticker.
All right.
Yeah.
Really quick. I wanted to touch really quick on the Pride. Friday, played Racing Louisville, lost 2-0. Um, I guess it was just a bad way to go into the break, but the women are in our international break, so we don't come back till August 3rd. We'll be home playing the Utah Royals for anybody out there that's following the Pride.
Yeah, the Pride need to figure their attack out. My goodness.
Yeah,
We
it's.
thought
I
we
guess
were good a couple of years ago in the
it's
attack, or last year in the attack. It's not. They have not been good this year.
like the rest of the league figured us out now.
Yeah, but yeah, our match Saturday against Cincinnati is a huge match. Cincinnati's in second, exactly 3 points ahead of us. So as long as we keep pace with them this Wednesday. I don't know if Cincinnati has a match Wednesday or not. Um,
Uh,
they do. They have to go play in Montreal. So as long as we keep pace with them and don't lose points to them, Saturday's more than ever a 6 point match because if we can pull off the win, we'll be
We
tied
go
with
to
them.
the top, baby.
Yep. If not, we'll be 6 points. If we end up losing, we'll be
And
6 points back.
And just like the sticker says, football is a pound of talent and an ounce of luck. So again, section 3, row D. I'm gonna be there. Please come and find me so I can get rid of these things. And you get to promo the show. It's free. And talking about free, please subscribe to the YouTube channels, to our social media. Again, it costs you nothing. We just love we love Orlando City, love the beautiful game, and we want to reach as many people as possible. Now that I actually have calmness in my environment, I just want to say that. But guys, final words so we can get out of here.
not for me. That's it. Thank you everybody for watching, for tuning in live. Thank you, like David said. Thank you for everybody that's gonna watch later, listen to us later, and vamos Orlando.
I'm talked out tonight. I think I said everything I can say.
All right. So we're gonna leave you the only way we know how, reminding you that football is played on grass, not on paper. That football is cruel and unpredictable, as this tournament has shown us. That football is a pound of talent and an ounce of luck. And if you have not cried for joy or anger over football, have you ever really footballed? For John, Misael, David, and myself, may God bless you. And as always, vamos, Orlando!